bill in the first
but
place.
What they expected may not necessarily be what the executive expected.
Right.
But nevertheless, they are still free to express their views and include what they expect to see in the bill.
Okay.
That's why we have to go to the members of the public so that they can air their views. Our laws come from the people. They are for the people and they come from the people. And the opposition is part of the people. They are free to
put their own input in for consideration.
any issues that they want included in the bill.
Brian, it's interesting. You all sit on the same committee, yes?
Yes.
And it's clear that there's some serious disagreement within your committee. Let's talk about driving license, Brian. Your views on that, because obviously driving licenses are an accepted form of identification in Zimbabwe. You can use them now wherever you go as ID, no problem at all. You heard what Mishek said, and I'm sure in your own committee you discusses about why it isn't, because it doesn't prove that you're a citizen on the driving license. What are your views about that in particular?
My views are that actually if we use the law of intentions, the law must always have a mischief to achieve. Zimbabwe's elections since 1980 to date has never had a challenge arising from the use of a driver's license as a form of identity. So I'm worried why the executive is trying to address a non-issue. Even from all the observer reports, including the Atlantic Commission report, where the government itself was the sole funder of that process and the recommendations were coming. It is not one of the identified issues that affects the free, fair, and credibility of elections in Zimbabwe. So if you use the real legal language where we're saying the law must always intend to have a mischief to address certain challenges that are arising in the society at a particular given time, we are addressing a non-issue here. And driver's licenses, they are not a problem at all. If ever there is need to insert that issue relating to citizenry, CVR is part of government. They must just include that provision
on the license
because
itself.
it is the same government that is giving you a license and is saying we have given you an identification which is inadequate, therefore you cannot vote. And you have realized the difficulties that people have in terms of if you lose your ID or your passport to get it, it is very difficult. And a majority of people have their licenses because you always have your license in your wallet, because as you drive you're always
carry it. In fact, I want to just continue there where Brian went off. Talking to commentators as critics, they're saying that possibly this driver's license provision in the amendment is that it is difficult, or it appears to be difficult. They can slow down the process of people trying to then get IDs or get passports, which is another way of proof of payment. What would you say to that sort of criticism in terms of this provision in the amendment?
Yes, my view is very clear that we are dealing with superficial issues. I want to say that it's very easy for us to have one document or each document so that all the documents can speak to each other. You can then have a driver's license, which actually shows your citizenship status, in the same way that our ID shows whether you're a citizen or an alien. And I believe that this issue of our driver's licenses, it's really an issue which has just been brought in as a
So why?
It's not important.
Why do you believe?
No, the point is that it is critical in terms of Section 67, that only citizens are allowed to vote.
Right.
However, I am saying that we can easily address that issue without needing a constitutional amendment.
How would you address the issue, though? Because how would you get everyone with a license that doesn't have it to get it changed?
No, what I'm simply saying that the license itself can then indicate on the face of it whether one is a citizen or a non-citizen.
Yeah, but not in the next 3 months, surely.
Yes, but the
you
point
can't expect 3 million people to go and change their licenses.
When you have got electoral amendments,
right,
you can actually have amendments which suspend their operation and so on and so forth. But for me, it's not something which we should really dwell on, because to me, it's not a critical issue. What we must be focusing more on fundamental matters.
All right.
On the process.
Let's move on.
If you can just allow me, Andy, to respond briefly.
Please go ahead.
Yes, on the issue of public participation.
Consultations.
Yes, there's actually a very serious problem. I alluded to the issue of a self-created agency. What we have here is a situation where there's been no public involvement in this process, in the sense that We have not had any physical hearings. We have actually confined our hearings to 2 days on the Zoom link and on the radio stations. In the past, we would have all of those. We would have a hybrid system, we would have television, we would have radio, and we would then have physical meetings in all the provinces. And this is a critical bill. You know, the government is brought into being through elections. And this is such a critical bill that it should never have been left to the last minute as we have done in this instance.
Okay, well,
but having said that,
yeah, please.
a lot of people have not had access because, you know, we've got electricity challenges in the country. So at a particular point in time, we will not be able to contribute because we don't have power. We have data challenges, we have connectivity challenges,
All right.
as a result of which people will not have had access.
You know, so I like to...
And even the time frame.
Yeah, the time.
Let's
Yeah,
look also at
well,
the time frame.
well, let me throw it to the chairperson, because of course you're the chairperson. I mean, you're the one talking about consultations. The opposition can still, through these consultations, come up with ideas. But now we're talking about only 2 days. It's on Zoom. It hasn't been done in 10 provinces. No physical meetings, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And like I stated earlier on, in terms of the Constitution, Section 141, Parliament is required to facilitate public involvement. I've not seen anywhere where it says you have to have physical public hearings. Involvement can be done through the air, through television, and maybe Honorable Ganesh.
Chair, aren't you being a little bit
may want to
nitpicking? I know we're lawyers here, but surely, I mean,
to
you know.
explain to me, to highlight to me where physical.
No,
public
okay, but what
hearings- but anyway, let me.
But following
proceed.
argument, then, if it was just Andy in one meeting, that should be enough. That doesn't make sense, surely.
Let me proceed.
Okay, please.
During the public consultation that we had on air, we had a reach of 2.1 million people. Then the following day, we had the virtual consultation where we had almost 700 people connected.
Okay.
Now, when we normally have physical public hearings, we book a hotel and around 50, 60 people come and attend. And, you know, we don't reach anywhere near 100,000 people.
So when you say reach, how do you mean 2.3 million? When you say reach, that's the amount of people that you believe were watching, or the people?
No. Okay, not believe. These are the statistics that we got from the radio station that we used. In fact, they gave us a printout of the reach. They had a reach of 2.1 million at that particular time. Normally, they reach up to 3 million, but on that particular time, we had up to 2.1 million people. And you know what I find important in this particular public hearing is that we had views coming from as far as the diaspora as well. People phoned from Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. But when we have physical public hearings, we never get to give those people
So
an
you are
opportunity
disputing
to.
what Innocent is saying in terms of the coverage, the public hearings, the time frame. You believe that you gave ample time, ample consultation around this bill.
Look, the station that we used is coverage right around the country through connectivity with other stations, local stations in those provinces. So as far as I'm concerned, we had adequate coverage. We covered all the corners of the country. And yes, there are issues to do with electricity. There are issues to do with connectivity. I agree. But even when we have physical public hearings, some people may not afford to travel to the centers where we will be carrying out public hearings.
Well,
so those issues are always there. At the end of the day, we want to look at whether it justifies what the Constitution requires us to do.
Brian?
We must be leaders and lead in good faith. We have had public hearings before. We have had physical public hearings. We have also done the radio, and we have done the Zoom relating to the same bill. So I do not actually find now the real basis, except that there is an intention to actually possibly avoid meeting people. There is nothing that would have stopped the electoral amendment bill to be done physically, and also then proceed to have a Zoom as a bonus and the radio.
So the issues that the chair said 2.1 million reach, you don't think that's sufficient?
I do not actually believe that it was sufficient. And as a matter of fact, when we do those radio interviews, it will be very difficult as well for people to be contributing, because they are supposed to also be phoning
Or WhatsApping or something.
Or WhatsApping, and you do not know, because we as MPs were not the ones, possibly if it was a WhatsApp, we're not the ones who will be actually seeing what the person has said. It will be possibly the radio guy.
But surely your committee is supposed
to
analyze all of those and put them into some
also, I just
report.
wanted to say, on the licenses,
yes,
I believe that it will be seriously prejudicial to the opposition, because the majority of drivers are in the urban settlements, and I believe that's where majority of our supporters are. So it is possibly another deliberate way of trying to exclude our voters.
But that implies that those with driving licenses don't have IDs, though. That's the assumption you're making.
I am saying that for you to get a driver's license, you must have an ID. But usually people, because as long as you are driving, you start now using your driver's license as an ID. For example, myself, I will need possibly to go and apply for a new ID. Okay. Well, since the time I had my driver's license, in my wallet I only keep the driver's license, because I can't keep the driver's license and the ID. So I don't know where it is now. So I'm saying...
So that would imply that you wouldn't be able to stand, effectively, right? Because you wouldn't have
I need to go and queue in the usual queues that they've created themselves as a government. Okay. I need to go and queue for that ID again. But I'm saying it is an artificial thing, because from all our reports, our challenge has never been that people were using driver's licenses.
All right, so that's
so
not
why
the
are
issue.
why are we addressing something?
Let's talk about the big picture here. And Innocent, I want to come to you here, and I'll leave you to the end, Mishek, to respond to my two other guests. Triple C, I must be honest, has come out guns blazing. They say that the Amendment Act, apart from the fact that it isn't sufficient, is, and I quote, biased towards the ruling party. Comment.
Yes. As we have said, we need to have a leveling playing field. We've got issues to deal with the right to vote. And there is currently under registration of voters. We need a mandatory voter registration plates, which is, I think, something we need in our electoral law. We also need to have a situation where the right to vote is extended. It's not just about the diaspora. You're looking at people in hospitals. You're looking at people in prisons. You're looking at people who are on duty on the day of the elections. You're looking at people who are physically challenged. We need to ensure that all these people are in a position to participate in the elections. You also look at what ZEC has done in terms of voter registration. There was very little publicity. You need to have a situation where the registration of voters is actually carried out in a manner which enables the majority of the people to register. At the present moment, people are only being registered at ZEC centers. The mobile registration process was not properly publicized. And when you look at even the delimitation report itself, it shows that in terms of under registration of voters, it's more applicable in Harare, it's more applicable in Bulawayo, which are opposition strongholds. So this is the reason why you need an electoral law which ensures that probably at the time of registration, a person gets automatically registered as a voter. When you look at the bigger picture, as you've already alluded to, we have got to deal with issues of intimidation, issues of violence. You've got a high number of assisted voters, and this is clearly as a result of intimidation. You've got the role of traditional leaders, the sabukus, the chiefs, and so on, who are being abused by the governing party, and who actually gather people and so on and intimidate people. We have got a very high literacy rate in this country.
But Brian did raise issues. I mean, he did say he said that this amendment is definitely biased towards the opposition due to the driving license issue. So
yes, I
understand that those are the amendments that you really want in terms of, but that isn't in the amendment, right? That's what you would like to see as opposition. But how is this bill?
No, this bill is being fast-tracked.
Right.
This is the reason why I said from the very beginning that we had a lot of time after the 2018 elections. But the governing party is not acting in good faith. They're acting in very, very bad faith.
All right.
Because right now, they've created this agency, they were doing nothing, and even the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has not come out with flying
Right,
colours.
I'd like to. Sorry, I mean, I need to jump in because I'd like to give. Sorry, I'd like to give
of
my
the integrity of
very-
ZEC.
integrity.
Yes.
Because I'd like Mishek obviously to respond after you, Brian. But I mean, biased towards the ruling party. I mean, I can quote your own Fadzai Mahere proposed amendments to the Electoral Act are biased. In fact, they allege that it's not conforming with the Constitution, but again, making it harder for opposition supporters to vote. And I mean, I haven't looked at the MDC, but I think that you have a few comments as well along the same angles from your leadership. What maybe then I can bring Mishek in.
Yes, I've already indicated that there is no good intention in the law, and the law is deliberately excluding the people of Zimbabwe, because for all this while we have had serious debates about the diaspora vote, and we thought, knowing that even by statistics we have close to 7 million of our people out of the country. Why would you not want those people who are emitting every now and again? They are the ones sending school fees and everything to us here. Every family has someone who is away. And you just decide to exclude them. This law does not...
You're talking two things here. One, you're talking about what you would wish to have it contained in an amendment.
Yes.
But secondly, we're now talking about what is on the table right now.
What is on the table right now is just, in short, to deal with inclusion of the issues in amendment number 2, which is only the youth quota and human quota. Those are the only
that's
two.
really what this amendment is about.
It's all about.
But it
And
isn't
that is
fundamental.
not what the recommendations from the observer missions and from the Motlanthe Commission and from the whole crisis that we have had relating to disputed elections is all about. It has never been about the women's quota and youth quota.
Mishek, is this bill meant to stifle opposition voters? Is it meant to bolster ZANU-PF's chances at the election by getting rid of urban voters through, for example, the driving license bill? That is the direct question to you, sir.
The answer is no. And look at it. In terms of constitutional amendment number 2, we agreed that we should have 10 youth in parliament, coming from all the 10 political provinces. And the question is, how does that give the ruling party an advantage? In any case, they supported the constitutional amendment when it came to parliament.
MDC did,
In any case, for it,
but Triple C didn't.
We didn't.
It was not there.
Look, and
respond to
Triple C
that.
was not there in
for it
Oh,
to,
sorry, then there was MDCA at the
for
time.
it to have passed as a law, it means it went through parliament, and parliament gave its
Irrespective,
No.
yeah, of course, you're right.
And
That's your point.
it is not the issue. Sorry, my interjection. The issue is not, we are not opposing the issue relating to the youth quota and women's quota being in parliament, because it's a non-issue. It's not an issue
Okay.
under contestation, but we are
Okay.
saying
All right.
the
Okay.
act must have addressed the contentious issues, because that is not
All right, to
the
the other issues you raised earlier. Sorry, please continue.
Thank
Please
you.
continue.
But I was
So
just
at
No, no,
least
no,
I'm
yeah,
happy.
I'll come to you.
I'm happy that we have agreed that in terms of the 10% youth and the 60%
Women,
that's fine. It's no, those are not issues. In terms of driver's license, I find it actually offending that rural people or ZANU-PF strongholds do not have people with a driver's license. I find it offending. I don't think they will be pleased to hear that. So as far as I'm concerned, that is an invalid point unless you can prove statistically that you have more drivers in urban areas than rural areas. So to me, that's a lame argument.
Right.
And at times I wonder whether the meaning of opposition is just complaining. You know what? Whatever is in the bill, it's meant for all Zimbabweans and it's affecting all the political parties in the same manner. In any case, we are not stopping there. We are saying if there are issues that members of the public or interested stakeholders want included in the bill, They're free to do that.
Let me jump in, Innocent.
Thank you very much,
Before
Andy.
you respond, Innocent, let me just quote the chair here, of course, a member of the ZTNPrime. I'm worried that the opposition, all they do now is just complain.
First and foremost, let's really look at the issues and let's be objective about it. I know that my colleague is in a very individualist position. He has to defend his political party's position and so on. But we've got to look at our history as well. We have to look at what has happened before. You will find that our elections are not free, they are not fair, and they are not credible. That is the reason why even in 2008, even Africa itself, all the observer missions, when you look at the June runoff, they condemned those elections. This is why Robert Mugabe was told at Sharm el-Sheikh that he must.
But if you just said the elections are not free and fair, why are you participating in the first place then?
We have
Why
to
not
put
just
it in
pull out?
context. We have to put it in context.
Okay.
We find ourselves between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
You then have a situation where they will just go on with impunity. And sometimes it's important to participate, to expose the system. And that is exactly why sometimes we have to do it. Okay. You know, in the past, we have actually withdrawn from participation. But after an evaluation, we realized that, look, we have to continue fighting for the political space. We have to continue fighting for the rights of all Zimbabweans. So this bill, I believe, we must really look at what is not in the bill.
Yeah, but
Innocent,
sorry, I just need to pull you
What is
back on
not-
that. You
yes.
say that you believe that you need to participate in this so that you can highlight some of the issues,
yes,
right?
yes,
But
yes.
then you're then also at the same time saying, but if we do, we're going to dispute the results.
No,
Or
I haven't
maybe
said
we
that.
will. No,
This
but
is-
maybe
this-
we will, like you have done as an opposition over the
that's
last
not what
couple
I've
of
said.
elections.
I think that's not what I've said.
Right.
Let's not put words into
No,
my
no.
mouth.
I'm just trying to
I'm saying
clarify.
that we want to achieve a scenario
Right.
where there are no disputed elections. This is the reason why we thought the so-called Second Republic was going to do things differently. They have not done things differently. In the last parliament, we also had a petition by the Election Resource Center, which was treated in the same way. And I believe that my friend is actually talking tongue-in-cheek. He knows that any submissions which are made at this belated stage will not see the light of day. And this is the reason why we have to continue fighting to ensure that that right, which is enshrined in the Constitution, the right to vote and to be voted for, is realized.
But
And
let's
that the
assume,
principles of,
can
Chapter
I
7
follow this
is-
argument that you're saying? And Mishek, maybe I'll bring you in here. Let's assume that CCC or MDC did come up with ideas that they needed to amend this, put into the electoral amendment. I mean, surely, as you said yourself, the ruling party is the majority party in parliament. What good will it do when you can just vote it out anyway in parliament legally and with no problems at all?
Yeah,
Why
but
would they
just
put
before
anything
he responds,
forward?
Andy, I just thought that it would be important just to highlight some
Very
of
briefly.
the things we think should be in the amendment
Okay.
bill. For instance, the access to the media. It's one of the things which were pointed out by the observer missions. Public access to the public. Those are issues which must be enshrined in that amendment bill.
Right.
And also the issue of a state vote. I didn't come up with the solution. We should have a situation where those who are unable to vote on their own, you should have a prior recording so that, you know, ZEC, in terms of the voters roll, they actually have a database as to those who have already indicated prior. That you don't have this intimidation coming in at the last minute where someone actually comes with a headmaster at a school or a teacher comes and says they cannot write and they cannot
Well,
vote.
I will
Those
say,
are issues which
yeah.
need to be addressed.
I will say, I need to take a breather, but I will come back to you to respond, both of you. But I will say that you are at the moment on the media, so it's nice to have you all here from different parties. You're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's
Watching
premier
the
current
elections.
affairs program. Our discussion, electoral amendment bill. Will parties find common ground? It's time for us to take a breather. Don't go away, The Chase. We'll be right back.
Wake up, sit up, and get ready to feel the rush of everyday break on Morning Rush. 6 a.m. weekdays on ZTNPrime. Get the latest news, what's trending on the streets and on social media. Quick explore of some sporting buzz, weather report, traffic updates, and of course, a hot cup of entertainment and some fun. Now, that's how you start your day. Each day, every day, with a rush, only on Morning Rush.
dzimwe mheni dzinogadzirwa nevanhu Handogadzira vana vanhu kugadzira mini. Takuda kutora mumvuri wako.
Inosarudza, inogadzira mari.
Ndinokuramisira muchirongwa muna vamune.
Welcome back. This is The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Our discussion, Electoral Amendment Bill. Will parties find common ground? Now, before the break, we were discussing, and Mishek, you can briefly comment on that, but I want to ask you this question. I want to be very direct with you. One of the amendments that's contained in the Electoral Amendment Bill is the issue about convictions. If any person is found conviction, provided the candidate has a criminal conviction, only be allowed to contest if their sentence has been reduced to less than 6 months, pardon of their conviction or their conviction set aside, and so on. But then we're talking to commentators and critics. They say that most people that are affected by this will be opposition supporters who they say ZTNPrime themselves or through the judiciary has actually put into prison or convicted. So in other words, you are in a way in one fell swoop. This is what critics say are getting rid of some of the main opposition members, Job Sikalas and so forth of this world. What would you say to that?
Well, Andy, I don't want to comment on the non-factual points. I'm not going to waste my time doing that.
Okay.
I need to comment on issues that have got statistics. All I know is that if you commit a criminal offense, the law is to deal with you. So whether it will, at the end of the day, affect the opposition more than it does the ruling party, well, it's a question of guess. So the issue is, do we have more criminals in the opposition or not? I don't know. But, well, let me go back and comment on the issue of issues that they want not seeing the light of day. You know, yesterday the committee said, and fortunately my colleagues here were also present, we went through the views of the participants. And at the end of the day, we came up with a committee report that fortunately I'm going to present or table in Parliament today. We agreed. Whether their members participated and included issues that are affecting them, I mean, they are here to tell us.
But some of the issues raised are in that report.
Yes.
I mean, I know you can't because you haven't yet presented
And
it.
also, look, he is talking about access to media. But this is the media.
Right. I must be honest. I probably shouldn't have said that. But Brian, let me jump in.
Are you not part of the media?
Yeah. No, of course we are. But let me jump
but
in.
They've got access to the media.
Well, let me jump in now because we
problem?
are running out of time.
Yeah.
But Brian, I don't know if let me quote the chair. I don't know if there's more criminals in the opposition. He said, but I mean. Do you believe that this criminal issue and what the opposition may call sham criminal convictions or sham people going to trial, I mean, this is your own words, not of course, Etienne's. Do you believe that this is really geared towards the opposition in terms of this criminal portion?
Yes, I believe so for two reasons. The first reason is actually that if you see the amendment, the proposed bill, what it is talking about is if you are convicted, even if you are wrongly convicted, you are disqualified until your appeal is upheld, which is actually a contradiction because the law would say if you lawfully file an appeal, it must suspend the conviction. The conviction. So you may be wrongly convicted, disqualified. Then after the elections, the appeal court says you are acquitted, but you've already been disqualified. That's one. Then the number two, why we are saying it is in favor of ZANU-PF and not the opposition. I do not foresee the president pardoning, because it's only the president who has the powers to pardon. I don't see the president pardoning the opposition, but from precedent, you would note that the Honorable Chiwamba, the late, may his soul rest in peace, was actually convicted by a court of law. And he became an MP because he was pardoned by President Mugabe. So he became eligible to be an MP. So I foresee a danger where we may both be convicted in MDC and as an PF.
Well, this is the issue. I mean, when I was doing my
But,
research, and I
but
was
I
speaking,
agree with one aspect.
Yes.
That is criminals who ordinarily should not be leaders. On the basis that we need honest, we need sincere leaders, but we do not also need
but you're making a
weaponization.
very fine distinction here. You're saying that you agree that criminals shouldn't stand for office. However, the other side, you're saying that if I'm opposition, I'm convicted, maybe I should be able to.
Listen to me very carefully.
Yes, sir.
Genuine criminal prosecutions, not weaponization of the law.
Right.
Because I can tell you that from 2004, when I started the practice, I have represented many opposition members. We have just been wrongly convicted by the magistrates court, and 90% of those people have been acquitted on appeal. But the way this bill is crafted is such that by that wrongful conviction, you are disqualified.
You're disqualified
Then
automatically.
an appeal takes 3-4 years to be finalized.
So
then
that's it,
by
you're
the
out
time
of the election.
you have already been out.
Well, let me ask you in a sense, because in fact, to add to this, what about aspiring candidates that have already served their time? They've gone to jail, they've been convicted, they've already served their time in the preceding 12 months. Will they be allowed to stand under the electoral?
No, under this amendment, they will be precluded. And I want to say that this is actually unconstitutional. When you look at the current constitution, section 129, it's very clear on what disqualifies a sitting member of parliament. And I believe that is adequate. If you are a sitting member of parliament and you are convicted, then in that case, the constitution is already very clear. Okay. You can then lose your seat.
So we're agreed on
I'm worried about the issue of
criminals.
political. Yes,
it's just this political.
I don't want to use this word criminals, because you'll find that there have been cases of wrongful convictions. That is a fact. Okay. But apart from that, we are dealing with a country where you've got politically motivated arrests. And there's also a genuine fear that this bill can be used as a weapon to disqualify candidates. As already pointed out by my learned brother, we have got a proviso that unless someone receives a pardon, you know that the only person who can give a pardon is the head of state. And then the president, the moment that head of state happens to be ZANU-PF. So
well, if I may,
it doesn't matter who is the head of state.
If I may, I have a few more questions to ask you both, and we're running out of time. But I just wanted, Mishek, I wanted you to hear the sense that allegedly ZANU-PF can motivate or fabricate arrests of opposition members. So come election time, they're all in jail, they're convicted, even though they're appealing, they won't be able to stand. In one fell swoop, according to the opposition, possibly you can get rid of most of the leadership of the opposition by doing that. That seems to be the general thrust of the comments. What would you say to that, sir?
I don't want to comment about how the police or the law enforcement agents or the judiciary are doing their work. I think they are right channels to say that. Yeah.
You won't interfere in any of that. That's up to the police and what.
Yes.
All right. So I did want. I mean, this is why I invited Tatenda Mavatera, because we did want to ask her about the issues of the women's quota, which I know that all my guests here have agreed to, and obviously the 10 youth members of the assembly, etc. I think this has all been agreed to by them. But it would be nice to have got a woman's perspective, particularly on the quota system being renewed. But unfortunately, she had accepted but was unable to make it. So, but I want to ask you, Mishek, this issue of withdrawing from contesting, that's contained in the amendment, a time frame which the candidate from a local authority or National Assembly can withdraw. Talk to me about that.
Okay. This is not a new issue, Andy. It's already in the Constitution. Currently, it applies to presidential candidates. But I think the executive saw it proper that it be applied to the legislatures as well as the councillors.
Why?
Look, ZEC, when we are going towards an election, they prepare ballot papers. So naturally, if you decide to withdraw, they have to have enough time to correct the ballot papers so that they exclude you from the ballot papers.
And if you don't within that time, your name will stay on the ballot.
Yes, and
even
it
though
will
you
cause
may.
confusion.
Okay.
I don't think any reasonable person will even question that or argue
I'd just
against
like
it
comments on this
at that point.
before I ask you both, all of you, very direct questions. Very quickly. I'll start with you, Brian, on this issue of pulling out.
I think logistically it is smart to have a time frame because
So you're in agreement with that?
you may risk someone winning after they have actually withdrawn.
Sorry,
They
you
no
need to
longer
repeat
return.
that. He says you're reasonable. Right, so... you know.
Yes, my point really is that this is really an insignificant issue in terms of the enhancement of credible
All right,
elections.
but we're back to what
And
you talked about as electoral reform.
Yeah, let's really focus on
let
the
me just
fundamental
comment on that.
issues.
Please.
And,
It appears like they are saying all the issues in the bill are not fundamental, are not
Yeah, they are
critical.
not.
But the point, the bottom line is they still have to be aligned to the Constitution. Now, these guys were given the opportunity to bring up the fundamental issues. And I hope they did.
And we did that collectively.
And
So
if they did,
and-
then it's contained in our report.
No,
and
no,
I'm-
no. Let me just correct my brother here. First and foremost, I've already alluded to the comprehensive process which we embarked as an institution, including the Speaker of the National Assembly was part of that process.
For 4
Yes, for 4 years. And then this has just been thrown out of the window. This is where our concern emanates from. We are dealing with people who are not sincere. They are not genuine about electoral reform.
Okay, look,
Because
I
all
mean,
this-
I know that
this
I
is
know
what
I
we
should.
should have, yes.
I mean, things
so
that,
this is
things
very
that
critical.
jump into my
That's the
innocent.
reason why.
For example, a private members bill could have brought in the last 4
no.
years. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough
in
about
fact, for
politics.
your information,
It can't
for
because
information.
this is a financial bearing. So a
Precisely.
private member
Has to be.
cannot
And-
sponsor
and actually an
the
attempt is
electoral
being
All right.
done.
Well, this is
being
why
a
it's
private
good to
member.
have
So, yeah,
parliamentarians.
yeah.
Okay, so basically, if I get this right, the amendment is to align with the Constitution, but of course, the opposition is saying we want the fundamental reforms of
reform.
electoral process, which is not, according to you, contained in this amendment. Agreed.
Precisely.
But,
And
all
we
right,
gave them the opportunity
No,
to
no,
bring
no,
up the fundamental
Right, so now,
issues.
look, unfortunately, I do have one final question of all three of you, and I'll ask you one at a time. Now I'm moving away from the electoral thing. I want to talk to you directly as individuals. I want to know. Let me start with you, Innocent. You're a member of parliament, even a member of parliament for a long time. Let's look at the last 5 years. I want you to give me some highlights, some achievements, because obviously achievements are what you get re-elected on, I would assume, as a member of parliament. And you've only got 30 seconds. Tell me what you have done for the electorate that makes
Yes.
me say, I will vote for Innocent in Mutai.
Right, what I've done really as a legislator is to look at what is the role of a member of parliament. In the legislative arena, I have participated in the debates, and also in relation to the enhancement of the electoral process, I've actually challenged what I felt had been done wrongly. I have taken this matter of Amendment Number 2 bill to the Constitutional Court.
And what have you done for
Because-
your constituents?
Yes, what I've done for my constituents, that in terms of the CDF, I have ensured that, education is a very critical area. So I've channeled most of the resources which come from the Constituents Development Fund towards, development of schools in terms of Zamba Primary School.
Okay.
We've done the ECD block. We've actually carried out extensive renovations on that. I'm assisting in the
So you have
construction
achievements
of
that you can
Yes,
stand on to be
yes,
elected.
Yes.
Brian?
In Tanda Primary School as well.
Okay, thank you.
very much. As a member of parliament for Goreb and constituents, the first thing is in parliament, as also the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee and an active member in the Justice Committee and the Women's Affairs Committee. In my name, I have actually moved 5 motions, including the Command Agriculture one, the COVID one, and also a lot of issues around Zinara. And in the constituents and in development level, we've managed to renovate a laboratory in the only high-density suburb area, high school. We have also built 2 clinics, and we have drilled so far about 6 boreholes in the constituency. And also in terms of just interacting, I have
So
managed...
you can stand on your achievements and believe that you can or could be re-elected come the election.
Yes, a decision has to be made also depending on a number of factors on whether or not a person can be re-elected or wants to be re-elected. But the most important thing is not being re-elected, it's actually fulfilling the mandate that you were given.
Now,
Yeah.
Mishek, final word.
Firstly, as a member of parliament, I've represented my constituents by bringing up issues that affect them to parliament. I've also played a critical role in the formulation of laws in parliament. I could list maybe over 10 bills that came before my committee that are now acts of parliament. Thirdly, I've played my role of oversight. I've got an oversight of over all the commissions, including ZEC, ZPCS, Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, JSC, and so forth. And I think I've done that diligently, but anyway, it's not up to me to comment. Then when it comes to my constituents, I've used my CDF to drill balls, to construct schools. Currently, I've got a school block that I'm constructing. I've constructed bridges, footbridge as well as vehicle bridges. And again, it's not really up to me to say I've done well. It's up to
well,
the,
as they say,
people
July,
to comment.
August, you'll have a chance to vote. It's a democracy. The people will speak. But thank you. We have come to the end of the chase this evening. Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. You've been watching our discussion, Electoral Amendment Bill. Will parties find common ground? I'd like to thank my guests, Honourable Mishek Dudzai Materanika, Chairperson, Justice and Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Parliamentary Portfolio Chairperson from ZANU-PF. Thank you, sir. Honourable Brian Dube, Committee Member, MDC. Thank you again for joining us. And Honourable Innocent Gonese, Triple C. Thank you. And as I did say earlier, we had invited Honourable Tatenda Mavetera. She's also from ZANU-PF. We wanted to get her perspectives on the women and some of the amendments contained, the quota go on and so forth. She had agreed, but due to unforeseen circumstances, she was unable to make it. Well, that's it for today's show. I, of course, will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Morning Rush, 6 to 8 a.m. The only show that you should wake up to. And, of course, The Mint every day, 2 p.m. here on ZTN Prime. I'm Andy Hodges. Have a good evening, good night, and please, you all be safe.